And welcome to Making Music, which is what we like to do here. Today, we are very honored to have Mr. Peter D'Addario.
Thank you.
From D'Addario Strings, talk to us about his excellent product, which you just heard, on his fine Ovation guitar that comes from the factory with EXPs on it, my favorite acoustic string. And we'll get right into it here. I've been saying D'Addario, just like it reads, for years, but that's not the correct pronunciation. It's
D'Addario, actually, and that's a common thing. Most folks actually say D'Addario and replace that apostrophe with an I, but in fact it's D'Addario, like Hi-Ho D'Addario, Farmer in the Dell.
Ah.
Like the old children's nursery rhyme.
Well, now I'll know how to remember that.
But we like any customers that say our name, whatever way they want to say it.
However they say it, as long as they're laying the cash on the product. Excellent. So tell me a little bit, because it's a family-run business still. How
Absolutely.
long has this been going on?
Gosh, there's a lot of family history, and going back 9 generations to the 1800s, early 1800s in Sale, Italy. My ancestors were making string, violin, viola, cello out of sheep gut in Italy. And in the early 1900s, my great-grandfather came over to the United States, to Astoria, Queens, and settled in Queens, and brought the string-making business with him to New York and began making in Queens under different brand names at the time. He partnered with Ladislav Kaplan and made Kaplan violin strings. And the business continued to grow, and it was really out of his basement in his apartment in Queens.
Wow.
As he raised the next generation, he taught them how to make strings in the 50s and 60s. They were always making strings under different brand names. They made the Martin strings for a long time. And Darco strings were made by the D'Addario family for a long time. And in 1974, the D'Addario brand of strings started itself, and that was started by my grandfather, John D'Addario Sr., and my 2 uncles, Jim D'Addario and John D'Addario, who both are still heavily involved in the business today.
Very cool.
It's been an amazing journey, and D'Addario started in 1974, so now we're getting towards 25 years of D'Addario strings, and the company's grown tremendously, and we've been very fortunate.
Yeah, I know. The first time I used them, and it was right around that 74, 75 time frame. I was just very impressed, and I have to be honest, on occasion I've put other brands of string guitars, but I always go, probably shouldn't have done that, because they always have been very balanced, good treble, nice ring, lots of bottom end. I really like them.
Well, that's great. I mean, when we first came out in the 70s, we did a couple things that were different. We were the first folks to use phosphor bronze. So traditionally, guitar strings, acoustic guitar strings were made out of brass or 80-20 bronze, and Jim D'Addario, in experimenting with different alloys, found that phosphor bronze created a warmer, mellower sound. It became known as D'Addario's acoustic guitar string, and they really took off right away. And folks like yourself and lots of acoustic guitar players that tried those phosphor bronze fell in love with them right away.
Yeah. So D'Addario, how big a company is this at this?
Well, at this point, it's quite large. It's really more than just strings. We have several brands now. We have Planet Waves, which is our musical instrument accessories for guitar. And we also have Evans Drumheads, which is obviously drumheads for all kinds. HQ Percussion, which is percussion practice pads and percussion accessories. And then we also have D'Addario Bowed Instrument strings, as well as Rico, which we've just gotten involved with, which is reeds and mouthpieces. So the company has grown tremendous the last few years, and it's really gotten to be, in the last 10 years, more than just strings. It's really about all kinds of musical instrument accessories.
Yeah. And one thing that a couple of guys I work with are kind of being very militantly picky. The company still manufactures the strings in New York, correct?
Absolutely. Every string is made in the United States. Most of the raw materials come from the U.S., but our strings are wound in Farmingdale, New York, which is on Long Island, about 30 miles from Manhattan. And we make about 350,000 strings per day in the factory there in New York. It's quite remarkable, but yes, everything is made in the United States, and we're very proud of that.
Yay. Well, yeah, keep the money here. Keep the jobs here. You
Yes.
have 1,000 people working for your company?
Internationally now, there's probably about 800 or 900 in our New York facility, but also in the other facilities around the country where we have sales and marketing offices, and some of the Rico reeds and mouthpieces are made out in California. We have a little over 1,000 employees total now.
Good-sized company.
Good-sized company.
You growing up in the business, how did that play? Obviously, you liked it because you're still there.
Yes, obviously. I grew up a little bit outside the business because my two uncles that owned the company and ran the company. I grew up in New England and went to college, but I would come down during the summers and do some work in the factory. I worked in receiving for a summer, just receiving in boxes. Worked in the shipping department for a while, packing orders. Worked building shelves, and when we moved into our new facility in 1994. So before, when I was younger, I got a lot of practical experience working a lot of different parts of the business. And it's just been exciting to watch it grow over the years.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
And now you're doing the OEM side.
Right. So in the mid-'90s, I came on board and started doing some marketing. I did artist relations for time. Being 24 years old and being in New York and having the opportunity to go hear all these great musicians in New York City 3 or 4 nights a week was obviously a great thing. I had a great time seeing all of my idols and meeting some of them, which was tremendous.
And they were happy to see you because you were bringing them the strings.
Surprisingly, they didn't realize how much more happier I was to see them, but they were really happy to see me too, and I got to meet a lot of great people and do a lot of great things. And then from there, I've moved on to do other marketing, advertising, and now sales. Yeah,
so OEM, I'm sure some of our viewers understand that, but it's original equipment manufacturers,
exactly.
the acronym, and that means, like, for instance, Ovation uses your strings as your strings,
mm-hmm.
but there are vendors that also, and this is I wasn't really aware of, that just because there's a brand name on the string doesn't mean those people actually made them. You do a lot of manufacturing for other string vendors as well.
Yes, sir. That information is very proprietary, but at the same time, it's known that there are 40, 50, 60 brands of strings out there in the world, and really only a handful of manufacturers. I like to equate it to detergent, to laundry detergent, where you go to the store and look on the shelves, there's 15 detergent, which are pretty much all made in the same factory under different formulas.
Yeah.
So yes, we do make strings for other manufacturers, and at times those are the other manufacturers' formulas that we're using their formulas to make the strings for them.
So they are different than the D'Addario in some ways.
In some cases, yes.
But they still have the same quality.
Absolutely. And still done on our winding machines, which are computer controlled, and that's why they come to us. A lot of folks have machinery that's outdated, and we have excellent string making engineers, 6 full-time engineers that work on the machinery at all times.
There were some strings that I used to use, and the companies went out of business because of their lack of consistency. You'd buy a pack of strings, and you'd have different tension than you were expecting, or the wraps would come loose. And so, obviously, D'Addario, making the investment in the computer controlled, has really maintained the consistency you've always had.
It's funny because when you think about an instrument, you think about handmade, and handmade is a great thing. A lot of the fine acoustic guitars, a lot of the finer instruments in the world are handmade. When it comes to strings, that's a disadvantage. When it comes to instruments, perhaps that's an advantage. When it comes to strings, it's a disadvantage. Everything that we do is computer controlled. It's precise. That's why we get a consistent product every time. Every time string, the core wire is moving at the same speed. The wrap.